There is a specific, terrifying kind of panic that begins to set in during the quiet moments of middle age. It doesn't hit you when you are 25. At 25, you think you have forever. Time feels like an infinite, renewable resource. You can make huge mistakes, cash out your 401k to pay off a credit card, and tell yourself, I'll replace it later. But then one day, the timeline shifts. You wake up and you are 45, or 50, or 55. You look in the mirror and see the gray at your temples. You feel the aches in your knees that weren't there a decade ago. And suddenly the realization hits you with the force of a physical blow. Later has arrived, and you are not ready, not even close. You look at your retirement savings, if you even have any, and you do the brutal mental math. You realize that the amount of money in that account, which might have seemed like a decent start a few years ago, is not a nest egg. It is a ticking time bomb of inadequacy. You realize that if you were forced to stop working tomorrow, your lifestyle would collapse within 6 months. This is the defining crisis for millions of people over 40 in America right now. It is the silent, terrifying knowledge that you have been sleepwalking toward a cliff. You have worked hard your entire adult life. You have paid your taxes, raised your family, tried to do the right thing. Yet you are staring down the barrel of a retirement defined not by leisure and security, but by poverty, anxiety, and reliance on others. If you are feeling this panic right now, I want you to listen very closely. You are not alone, but you are completely out of time for delusions. The window is closing rapidly. The runway is short. The luxury of making financial mistakes is gone forever. If you are over 40 with little to no savings, the strategies that work for a 20-year-old will not work for you. You cannot afford to take 20 years to figure it out. You need a strategy that is ruthless, efficient, and practically guaranteed to work if executed with military precision over the next 15 to 20 years. You need the only strategy that works when time is working against you. You need the philosophy of Warren Buffett. Now, it seems counterintuitive. Warren Buffett started investing when he was 11 years old. He is the ultimate example of starting early. Why would a late starter listen to him? We listen to him because while he started early, the vast majority of his immense wealth, over 99% of it, was created after his 50th birthday. Warren Buffett is the master of the second half. He understands how to maximize the power of compounding when the stakes are highest. More importantly, he understands the psychological traps that destroy investors who are panicked and trying to catch up too fast. If we are going to salvage your retirement in the time you have left to work, we have to adopt his mindset completely. We have to strip away the noise, the get-rich-quick schemes, and the panic, and replace them with cold, hard, disciplined reality. This is not going to be an easy video to listen to. I am not here to tell you that everything will be fine if you just save an extra $50 a month. It won't be fine. If you want a dignified retirement, the next decade of your life is going to require sacrifice and a level of discipline you have never applied to your finances before. If you are ready for the truth, then let's begin the protocol for the late starter. Phase 1. The psychological reset. The first step in the Buffett protocol for late starters is what I call the Great Rejection. Before we can talk about what you must do, we have to talk about what you absolutely must not do. This is where most people over 40 fail. When panic sets in, the human brain looks for a shortcut. You realize you need hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you only have a few thousand. The gap seems impossible to bridge through normal saving. So, the temptation is overwhelming to swing for the fences. You start looking for the home run investment. You hear about a friend who made a killing in cryptocurrency. You read about stock options trading that can double your money in a week. You see an ad for a secret private equity opportunity that promises 20% risk-free returns. Listen to me carefully. This impulse is the siren song that will destroy what little future you have left. Warren Buffett's 2 most famous rules of investing are: Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. When you are 20, you can lose everything, and you have 40 years to recover. It's a painful lesson, but not a fatal one. When you are 50 and you lose 50% of your nest egg gambling on a speculative investment, you are finished. You do not have the time to wait for it to recover. You do not have the human capital to replace it easily. The most dangerous thing a late starter can do is try to get rich quick. Buffett built his fortune by consistently avoiding catastrophe, not by constantly hitting jackpots. He understands that if you avoid the big zeros, the small gains compound into massive wealth. If you are over 40 and behind, you must reject all speculation. You must delete the crypto apps. You must stop listening to your brother-in-law's hot stock tips. You must walk away from complex insurance products that promise market returns with no risk. They are lying to you. The only way to catch up is through a boring, relentless mathematical process. If you are looking for excitement, go to a casino with $20. Do not treat your retirement like a roulette wheel. You have to accept that you missed the easy path. The path that remains is hard, but it is the only one that is real. Once you have rejected the gambling mindset, we move to the second pillar of the psychological reset: radical acceptance and the new timeline. You have to forgive yourself for the last 20 years. Regret is a useless, corrosive emotion. Beating yourself up for not starting an IRA in 1998 does not put a single dollar into your bank account today. It just burns mental energy you need for the fight ahead. Acknowledge the mistake, learn from it, and then slam the door shut on the past. It is gone. You are exactly where you are. The only question is what you do between today and the day you can no longer physically work. You need to redefine your timeline. You don't have 40 years. But if you are 45 today and plan to work until 67, you have 22 years. 22 years is not a lifetime, but in the world of compound interest, it is an eternity if, and this is the massive if, you do not interrupt the process. Buffett calls compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. He understands that money multiplies exponentially, not linearly. The growth is slow at first, but it accelerates dramatically at the end. Even in a shorter window of 20 years, the back-end acceleration of money is stunning if you leave it alone. Let's look at the mathematics of hope. Let's look at real numbers. Let's say you are 50 years old today. You have zero savings. You plan to work until 67. That gives you 17 years. If you can manage to save $500 a month and invest it in the total stock market, assuming an average historical return of 8% after inflation, at age 67 you would have roughly $200,000. That's better than nothing, but likely not enough to live on comfortably. Now let's get serious. This is the Buffett approach. Let's say you undergo a radical lifestyle change and manage to save $500 a month. Over those same 17 years at the same return, you would have nearly $800,000. Now we are talking about a life-changing amount of money. Combined with Social Security, $800,000 can provide a dignified, secure retirement. The math works. It is possible. But the timeline is tight, which means the margin for error is zero. You cannot miss a month of contributing. You cannot cash out your 401k when you change jobs to pay for a renovation. You cannot panic sell when the market crashes. You have to become a machine of execution. Phase 2. The strategic execution. Now that your mind is right, we need to talk about the mechanics of the catch-up. This leads us to the third and hardest pillar of the protocol, the aggressive gap. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's brilliant business partner for decades, had a simple saying about getting rich that cuts through all the noise. Spend less than you make. Always be saving something. Put it into a tax-deferred account. Over time, it will begin to amount to something. This is such a simple concept that it's almost insulting. It is insulting because it's brutally hard. And if you started late, it's exponentially harder. You cannot compound what you do not have. The only variable in this entire equation that you fully control right now is how much cash you free up every single month to feed the investment machine. If you are starting at 25, saving 10% of your income might be enough. If you are starting at 45 or 50 with nothing, 10% will not save you. It's mathematically impossible. You need to be aiming for a savings rate that feels uncomfortable, perhaps borderline impossible. You need to aim for 20, 30, maybe even 40% of your take-home pay going toward catch-up savings. This is the price of waiting. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where most people give up. It means you have to undergo a brutal, forensic audit of your lifestyle. Buffett, one of the richest men on earth, still lives in the house he bought in the 50s for $31,500. He drives cars until they fall apart. He is perfectly happy with a cheeseburger. He understands deeply that status symbols are the enemy of wealth. If you are over 40 and broke, you are likely drowning in status symbols that are dragging you down. The least luxury car you can't really afford, but feels nice to drive. The house that is too big for your needs and costs a fortune to heat and cool. The expensive vacations you put on credit cards to impress people on Facebook who don't actually care about you. To catch up now, you must make a radical trade. You must sacrifice current comfort for future survival. It might mean selling your house and downsizing to a smaller condo or apartment to free up $500 or $1,000 a month in mortgage payments and maintenance. It might mean selling the new car, paying off the loan, and buying a 10-year-old reliable sedan for cash. It definitely means declaring a permanent moratorium on all new consumer debt. No more credit cards, no more financing furniture. You have to create a massive gap between your income and your expenses and shove every single available dollar into that gap. It will feel like deprivation at first. Your ego will scream, but you have to reframe it. You are not depriving yourself. You are buying your freedom. You are buying your dignity. Now let's talk about the tactical mechanics. Where does this money go for maximum efficiency? This brings us to the fourth pillar, the circle of competence and simple execution. Warren Buffett has a core mental model called the circle of competence. He says you don't need to be an expert on everything to succeed. You just need to know the exact boundaries of what you do know and stick strictly inside them. He doesn't invest in complex biotech companies or trendy tech startups he doesn't understand. He sticks to simple businesses with predictable cash flows that he can analyze with certainty, like insurance, railroads, and consumer goods. As a late-starting investor, your circle of competence does not include analyzing the balance sheets of small-cap companies. It does not include predicting the future of decentralized finance or spotting the next Amazon. If you try to play that game against professional investors who have teams of analysts and supercomputers, you will lose your shirt. Buffett's advice for the average person, the 99% of us who are not professional capital allocators, is breathtakingly simple and profound. He says, just buy the whole of America. He recommends a single, simple investment, a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. That's it. No complex trading strategies, no expensive hedge funds, no high-fee financial advisors promising to beat the market. When you buy a share of an S&P 500 index fund, you are buying a tiny slice of the 500 biggest, most profitable, most powerful companies in the United States. You are owning Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Johnson & Johnson, Berkshire Hathaway itself, and hundreds more all at once. You are betting on the long-term resilience, innovation, and growth of the entire American economy. Historically, over any 20-year period you can choose, despite world wars, pandemics, massive recessions, political crises, and stagflation, that bet has always paid off. The market has always recovered and gone on to new highs. Furthermore, as a late starter over 50, the tax code gives you a massive break that you must utilize. You are allowed to make catch-up contributions to your retirement accounts. These are higher limits than younger workers have. For 2025, using projected numbers, always check current limits. If you are under 50, you can put $23,500 into a 401k. But if you are 50 or older, you can put in an additional $7,500 catch-up contribution for a total of $31,000 a year. For an IRA, the limit goes from $7,000 to $8,000 for those over 50. You must view these limits not as suggestions, but as targets. That is precious tax advantage space where your money grows without being taxed annually. You cannot waste it. Your strategy for the next 15 to 20 years is aggressively boring. It is repetitive. It is automated. Every single payday, a massive chunk of money leaves your checking account before you even see it and goes directly into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund inside these tax-advantaged accounts. You set it up once, and then you focus your energy on your job, your health, and increasing your income. You let the powerful engine of American capitalism do the heavy lifting for you. This brings up a crucial point for the late starter: the career endgame. You cannot just cut expenses. There is a floor to how much you can cut. You still need to eat and have shelter. There is no ceiling on how much you can earn. Your last 10 to 15 years of work are usually your highest earning years. You must maximize this. This is not the time to coast. This is the time to be aggressive in your career. Are you being paid market rate for your skills? If you have been at the same company for 10 years, you probably aren't. It might be time to aggressively negotiate a raise, or more effectively, change jobs to get a significant salary bump. Can you add a second stream of income? I'm not talking about a complex business. Can you consult in your field? Can you turn a hobby into cash? If you can generate an extra $1,000 a month and throw that entirely into your catch-up savings, it radically changes the math of your retirement. Every extra dollar you earn now buys you freedom later. Finally, we must address the psychological battle that lies ahead. Because I guarantee you, with 100% certainty, that over the next 20 years, something terrifying will happen. The stock market will crash. It is not a possibility. It is a certainty. We will have another recession. We might have another financial crisis or a depression. The news will scream 24 hours a day that the world is ending, that this time is different, that capitalism has failed. You will log into your retirement account one morning and see that the $100,000 you painfully scraped together over 5 years of sacrifice is suddenly worth $60,000. If you are 58 years old when that happens, the emotional urge to panic, sell everything to stop the bleeding, and move to cash will be almost irresistible. It will feel like the safest thing to do. This is the moment of truth. This is the moment where your retirement is either saved or destroyed forever. Buffett says, "The most important quality for an investor is temperament, not intellect." You don't need a high IQ to get rich. You need control over your emotions. When the market crashes, Buffett doesn't panic. He gets excited. He goes shopping. He sees high-quality merchandise, great American companies, on sale for half price. He understands that the market is manic-depressive. In the short term, it is a voting machine, driven by fear and greed. In the long term, it is a weighing machine, driven by actual corporate profits. As a late starter, you must develop this iron temperament. You must engrave it into your soul. When the market tanks, you do not sell. You keep buying. You keep pouring your monthly contribution into the S&P 500, buying more shares when they are cheap. You are accumulating ownership in the recovery. You have to ignore the noise. You have to ignore your panicked neighbor who says he got out at the top. You have to ignore the doom and gloom pundits on TV. You're playing a different game. You're playing a 20-year game of survival for your future self. The path for the late starter is narrow. It is steep. It requires a level of focus, sacrifice, and discipline that most people never achieve in their entire lives. It requires accepting hard truths about the time you have wasted. But here is the good news. It is possible. People do it all the time. They wake up at 50, realize the danger, pivot hard, change their lives, and build a secure future before they retire. Warren Buffett didn't become the greatest investor in history because he had secret information or a magic formula. He became the best because he figured out the simple truths early and had the discipline to adhere to them for 8 decades without wavering, through every boom and every bust. You don't have 8 decades, you have 2. But if you apply those same principles with the same intensity for the time you have left, you can change the ending of your story. The clock is ticking loudly, the runway is short, but the plane can still take off if you start building maximum speed today. Let's get to work.